When I boot up Sunset Riders, there's an immediate sense of familiarity, even if you've never played it before. The screen explodes with color, the music hits with that unmistakable arcade swagger, and within seconds, you're thrown into a cartoon Wild West that's equal parts ridiculous and exhilarating. Every time I return to it, I'm asking the same question. Does Sunset Riders still hold up as a timeless classic? Or is it just another relic we remember fondly because of where and how we first played it? I want to answer that from a modern player's perspective, but also from the point of view of someone who has spent real time with the arcade version, not just a quick nostalgia dip, but extended sessions where the cracks, strengths, and design choices really show themselves. Right away, Sunset Riders establishes its identity through tone. This is not a gritty Western. It's playful, exaggerated, and confident in its silliness. The characters shout one-liners, enemies flip dramatically through the air, and bosses mug for the camera like cartoon villains. That tone matters because it's one of the reasons the game still feels approachable today. Even now, it doesn't take itself too seriously, and that helps it age far better than many arcade titles that leaned hard into realism or grim aesthetics. From a gameplay standpoint, Sunset Riders is a side-scrolling run-and-gun at its core, but it's a surprisingly refined one. Movement is snappy, jump arcs feel deliberate, shooting has a satisfying rhythm that never feels floaty or underpowered. When I play it now, I'm struck by how readable everything is. Enemies telegraph their actions clearly, hazards are visible, and the screen rarely feels unfairly cluttered, even when things get chaotic. That clarity is a big deal. Many arcade games were designed to overwhelm you, forcing mistakes that would quickly eat your credits. Sunset Riders can be challenging, but it doesn't rely on cheap tricks. When I lose a life, I usually know why. I jumped too early. I got greedy going for a power-up. I underestimated an enemy pattern. That sense of fairness is crucial if you're judging the game by modern standards, not just nostalgia. The character selection also deserves attention. Each bounty hunter plays almost identically on a mechanical level, but they're visually distinct and full of personality. That might sound minor, but it matters. In co-op especially, it gives everyone ownership of their role on screen. When I'm playing with others, it's easy to point at the chaos and say, "That was me," or "You handled that section." The game supports shared experiences naturally without needing complex systems. And Sunset Riders really shines in co-op. This is one of those arcade games that feels like it was designed around 2 or more players standing side by side. The screen accommodates multiple characters well, and the action scales in a way that encourages teamwork rather than punishing it. You can cover each other, revive momentum after mistakes, and even laugh at how absurd things get when 4 characters are blasting enemies at once. What's impressive is that this co-op design still works today. In a modern context, whether you're playing via emulation, a compilation, or on original hardware, the game remains an excellent social experience. It doesn't require long tutorials or deep mechanical knowledge. You can hand someone a controller and within minutes they understand what to do. That accessibility is a huge reason the game continues to resonate. Visually, Sunset Riders holds up better than many of its contemporaries. The sprite work is expressive, colorful, and packed with personality. Animations are exaggerated in a way that feels intentional rather than limited by hardware. Enemies react dramatically when hit, bosses have memorable designs, and backgrounds are varied enough to keep the journey interesting without becoming distracting. The Western theme could have aged poorly, but here it's handled with such a cartoon sensibility that it avoids feeling dated in a negative way. It's not trying to be historically accurate, it's playing with iconography. Trains, saloons, deserts, and showdowns are presented like panels from a comic book. That stylization helps insulate the game from the passage of time. Then there's the music. The soundtrack does an incredible amount of heavy lifting. Each stage theme is catchy, upbeat, and perfectly matched to the on-screen action. When I hear certain tracks, I immediately associate them with specific moments. Charging forward on horseback, climbing structures under fire, or facing off against the boss with an oversized personality. Strong audio identity is something many modern games still struggle with, and Sunset Riders nails it effortlessly. Boss design is another area where the game stands out. Bosses are memorable not just because of their size or health bars, but because of their presentation. They taunt you, move theatrically, and often introduce mechanics that force you to adjust your approach. They're not overly complex, but they're distinct enough that each encounter feels like an event rather than an obstacle. From a modern perspective, one criticism that does surface is length. Sunset Riders is not a long game by today's standards. Once you know it well, it can be completed fairly quickly. But I don't see that as a flaw so much as a reflection of its arcade roots. The game is designed to be replayed, not stretched. Its value comes from repeated runs, higher difficulties, and shared sessions, not from sheer duration. Difficulty scaling is also worth mentioning. The game ramps up in a way that feels deliberate. Early stages ease you in, while later sections demand better timing and awareness. It never becomes brutally unfair, but it does expect you to engage with its systems properly. In that sense, it respects the player's ability to learn and improve, which is a hallmark of enduring game design. One thing I appreciate more now than I did years ago is how well Sunset Riders balances spectacle and control. There's always something happening on screen, but I never feel like the game wrestles control away from me. My inputs matter. Precision matters. That's something that becomes more apparent when you revisit it with a modern eye and compare it to other arcade titles that relied heavily on chaos. In terms of cultural impact, Sunset Riders may not have the same mainstream recognition as some genre-defining classics, but among players who've spent time with it, the reputation is well earned. It's often remembered not just as a good arcade game, but one of the most fun ones. That distinction matters. Fun is subjective, but when a game consistently delivers excitement, laughter, and memorable moments decades after its release, that says something important. Playing it now, I don't feel like I'm tolerating outdated mechanics for the sake of nostalgia. I feel like I'm engaging with a well-crafted experience that still understands pacing, feedback, and player engagement. That's the real test of a timeless classic. Not whether it looks old, but whether it still feels right. Of course, it's not perfect. Some mechanics are simpler than what modern players might expect. There's limited depth compared to contemporary run-and-gun titles, and if you're looking for extensive progression systems or customization, you won't find them here. But simplicity, in this case, is part of the design's strength. The game knows exactly what it wants to be, and executes that vision without unnecessary complications. So, is Sunset Riders a timeless classic? From my experience, absolutely. Not because it represents the past, but because it continues to deliver in the present. Its gameplay remains tight, its presentation remains charming, and its co-op experience remains genuinely fun. Those are qualities that don't expire. Every time I return to it, I'm reminded that great game design doesn't need constant reinvention to stay relevant. Sometimes it just needs clarity, confidence, and a strong sense of identity. Sunset Riders has all three of those, and that's why it still earns its place in the conversation, not as a memory, but as a game worth playing right now.